What's up, folks? So the blowover from yesterday's One Piece chapter is at an enormous rate, and rightfully so. It's a topic. This is going to involve two topics that came out from the most recent chapter of One Piece. Number one, where does the story head next with the Yonkou, and number two, the road to Raftel. Now, the thing is, I saw a comment on one of the 7 Majors videos. I think it's one of his previous two, obviously One Piece videos. Commented a matchup against the Yonkou, against the certain Yonkou against the Straw Hats. 3 of the 4 Yonkou, obviously, because Shanks is not included. Now, what's interesting about this is, it sounds crazy at first when the reason you pit the 3 admirals to go against the Monster Trio is because of their styles. You know, you got Kizaru versus Sanji because they deal with kicks. You got Akainu versus Luffy because of what happened to Ace, etc., etc. And then you have Zoro maybe against Green Ball, Fujitora. We don't know. Maybe Green Ball because we don't know where Fujitora lies. Anyway, point is that they are paired up. But what's interesting about this comment is the 3 Yonkou against the Monster Trio. So it tells, obviously, Luffy versus Blackbeard, but that's obvious. Final battle, and they did hint to certain things in the final arc to be Raftel, so that would make sense. Obviously, both these, what Blackbeard indirectly responsible, what happened to Ace, etc., etc. What could happen with the Revolutionary, so it makes sense. And also sorts of theories of what might happen after that. Also, the 2 main ones that caught my attention were Sanji versus Big Mom, interesting, and Zoro versus Kaido. Now, the interesting thing about this, when you match up the Monster Trio against the 3 Admirals, you immediately think of the styles. So, the 3 Yonkou versus the... obviously, Luffy versus Blackbeard, that's established. Let's start with Zoro versus Kaido, and obviously a couple of months ago you thought this is kind of crazy to talk about, but when you look at stuff as the scenario, the situations of where we're at now and what the Straw Hats are dealing with, it kind of makes a lot of sense. And I actually gotta give this comment a lot of support on this. I wish I could remember who was the comment, but if you check on the 7 Major comments down below as well as this video, I'm sure you check out the comment for yourself. You know what I mean. So let's start off with the Zoro versus Kaido. The obvious thing is the Wano theme, and Kaido it was confirmed that he was the Shogun and he's the ruler of Wano. So obviously the samurai theme, obviously you match Zoro versus Kaido. Now a lot of people think that Luffy should be the one to deal with Kaido and deal with the Yonkou. Well, my question is this: how do you deal with it? No, even if Luffy does deal with the Yonkou anyway, how do you go from tackling Big Mom, if that indeed what happens, even if, how do you do back to back Big Mom, but then go up against Kaido? Do you see that happening realistically? No, because the story is too indirect for that. And number 2, Luffy does not have to go to Wano. Technically, over what happened to Momonosuke, but remember, Luffy is not the only one on the crew that can actually put up a fight, and this will bring me to Sanji in a minute. But the thing is, Luffy does not have to go to Wano to get the Poneglyph. Nekomamushi said it himself. You don't have to take the Poneglyph himself, although we know Jinbei's coming in with a Poneglyph. That could very well be Big Mom's Poneglyph. But the other thing is, they can't. Luffy doesn't have to be the one to get to Wano, because all they have to do is take notes and Nico Robin is the only one that could decipher them. Obviously, Nami is the one that could match, because it's a map towards Raftel, so that in itself makes Nami and Nico Robin crucial to the crew, as well plot devices for later on, and I'll get into that in a minute. But Zoro versus Kaido. Now, throughout this entire arc in Zoro has been more interested in the Kaido / Jack theme than he has with Sanji Big Mom, and it's been hinted it's for sure going to go down. The Straw Hats are going to separate One obviously go to Whole Cake Island to rescue, retrieve Sanji. In the other hand, you got the Wano theme. Now, for plot purposes, I initially said in my review that they should not keep Momonosuke or Raizo anywhere near Zou, just in case Jack or Sabon of Kaido comes back. Plot device, they get kidnapped, they're fucked. I think they're gonna have to go to Wano anyway to get the notes from the Poneglyph. So there's no avoiding that. Number two, Luffy's already going to battle against the Yonkou anyway. So Kaido versus Zoro, and Zoro's not no stranger to fighting somebody who has his own type with the sword. We've seen that before with Kaku back at Eva's lobby. And remember, I find it interesting. The foreshadowing for Oda could have been at Thriller Bark, because you remember when he fought Ryoma back at Thriller Bark, of the old samurai from Wano, and he had the sword. Well, that was, and at the same time you had Sanji deal with that wedding. I know roles are reversed now, and the wedding we got now at Whole Cake Island is a whole another topic, but the scenario plays itself out because you had a wedding and you had the samurai from Wano in one arc. So I highly think the situations that we have now is a coincidence. And when you patch it, and when you match up the Yonkou versus the Monster Trio, right? Zoro versus Kaido. In a nutshell, it's a badass match to begin with. So number two, and this goes back to what I think about Sanji versus Big Mom. Number one, the whole situation with Sanji and Big Mom is it's Big Mom who has the intel on the Vince Smoke, and number two, they pretty much blackmailed Sanji into this wedding by saying you get in the headed box if you don't attend this wedding. So my question is do you think Sanji is going to take that one laying down? Hell to the no. And most importantly, look at the surroundings of Big Mom and what she's all about. Whole Cake Island, food, and when you instantly think of food, you think of Sanji, the chef. So, the pairings, the characters, I think personally, and given the fact that it's confirmed to be the year of Sanji, why not give Sanji the spotlight to fight against a top level pirate in the New World, Big Mom, and later on give Zoro the same type of spotlight. I'm not saying that just because it's a theory doesn't mean it's going to happen, and just because if it does happen doesn't mean they have to be the one to take them out. No, I'm saying give them the spotlight to fight a top-notch Yonkou or an enemy, because Zoro has been fighting nothing but scrubs ever since we got in the New World. You know, Sanji's not really had his chance to shine, even though it's the year of Sanji anyway. So why not do this now? And you still have Luffy could show up and deliver the final blow to Big Mom. Because do you think Sanji's going to go to Whole Cake Island just to battle the Finspecs when they want him only alive? Sanji's dad went to the extreme measures to say, no, we want Sanji alive. So I don't think that's a coincidence. The second part of the topic, of course, is the road to Raftel. Now, there's been many, this is the topic that's got everybody buzzing, that's got everybody theorizing. And by the way, I'm not the only one that's theorized that Zoro versus Kaido. I think Roger's Base made the theory about a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. So you might want to check that out as well. So it seems to me perfect sense. Whether or not it's going to happen depends on Oda, but it would be very epic if he has Sanji versus Big Mom, given what's happening now, what's going to happen in Whole Cake Island, what's going to happen in Wano, obviously, and at the end of the story, regardless of how we get there and what goes down, you have Blackbeard and Luffy to set the stage for the final match, at least one of the final matches of this series. Now let's talk about the situation involving Raftel. Now, number one, things that caught my attention were the information that samurai have, which may play a huge role in what the samurai go from here. They stated that they have information not even Kaido is aware of, which I thought was interesting, because the intel of Yonkou is supposed to be on point. We've seen that before. You know, when Kaido sent Jack over to Zou to pick up Raizo, he was dead accurate, even though the Minx did a hell of a job of protecting the whereabouts. And the only reason they left is because of what happened on Dressrosa with Luffy and Doflamingo. Number two, what we found out at the intel of Yonkou when it comes to Big Mom. Well, my question is this though. Well, I stated this before the live reaction. How the hell did the Minx know of the Ohara? Because isn't Zou supposed to be a separate island, in isolation for over 1,000 years, moving? So we know Shanks stepped foot on Zou at one point, and it's obvious now that the guy who Nikomoshi and Yunarashi was referring to, when it talked about hearing these strange sounds the moment Sasuke was hearing, has to be God Raji, because, and given the fact that Lord Odin, the former, former shogun of the Wano Kuni, was part of Goldie Roger's crew and was also a part. If they were with the Minx, I don't think it's far-fetched to say there's something to that. Now, number one, if you go back to what they said about this current generation, that's the samurai, not decipher this poneglyph. That's a huge hint on the previous generation, and we know Goldie Roger has made it to the end of the Grand Line. So, who the hell decipher the poneglyphs? Well, a lot of people are thinking Nico Olovia, Nico Robin's mother. Well, go back to the episode to where we saw why was the government so interested in it in the first place, and why was the apparently so high? A lot of people think she's could have been part of Goldie Roger's crew, and that's the reason why they're able to decipher the poneglyphs and make it to the end of the Grand Line. That's possible. And here's another thing I found really interesting. And also, you remember about at least a month ago, when we got the notebooks from Oda about the future arcs that he's planning out. We had the one for Zou, we had the one for the Revolutionary Army, we had the one for Whole Cake Island, and then you had the one involving the Four. And initially you'd think it would have something to do with Island type of Four or the Four Yonkou, but the Yonkou have to be dealt with ASAP the moment they have to, because they have to get to the poneglyphs, right? So that rules that out. But after this chapter, it's more than obvious that it's referring to, I think, that's going to be the arc where we get the fourth road to Poneglyph. That's going to lead to Raftel. Now, the question is, whereabouts is that? That's the only one of the road Poneglyphs that's it's not been discovered. A lot of people think Shanks is the one guarding it. Others say it's on the Elbaf, maybe. Because if it's not, then my prediction is this. And a lot of people are saying this in the comments. That it's somewhere around Marijoa. And I think that's something that Doflamingo knows as well. And hear me out. Because why would they put the bounty on? Why would they after the people of Ohara in the first place? And I think it just strikes me as a coincidence now that what the things have been brought out in the world government and these things with the Road Poneglyphs, it would make a lot of sense. And let's not forget, Nico Robin was warned that you might be a target because you're able to decipher the poneglyphs. You're only one in the world, by the way. As of right now, who can decipher this poneglyphs. Like I said, Nami and Nico Robin are huge key players when it comes to the Straw Hats and the New World. Any chance they got that Luffy can get the Grand Line and get to the One Piece, no pun intended, but beat Oda will throw another curveball. We're going to find out eventually, but Oda would not have done that if there's not a reason to set up certain things, like the fights with the Yonkou and the Monster Trio, when you consider the similarities and the surroundings of each of them, or the scenario with Raftel and the Poneglyphs and everything that goes along with it. But yeah, that's just my opinion. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like the, if you did enjoy this video, if you agreed with it, give it a thumbs up, comment, rate, subscribe. I'll catch you guys on the next one.